The day my daughter was born, the morning sky was clear, as if it had just been washed clean after the night rain. Father stood in the hospital corridor, his hands trembling, his heart filled with emotions he had never named. When the nurse placed that tiny life into his arms, all the sounds around seemed to fade away. She was so small, her skin rosy, her eyes gently closed, her breathing fragile yet warm. For the first time in his life, Father clearly felt what responsibility was, what unconditional love meant. From that moment on, his whole world changed. He understood that from that day forward, every step he took had to be steadier, because a tiny soul had quietly placed a responsibility in his heart, one that would never leave. When you were still very small, Father was your entire sky. You followed him everywhere, your tiny hand gripping the hem of his shirt. You loved being lifted high, loved resting your cheek against his shoulder, the place where you always felt safe. For you, as long as Father was there, every fear could disappear. Father was not a man of many words, but he was always by your side. In your earliest days, almost every part of your life had Father in it. He changed diapers late at night, prepared milk when you cried, carried you around the house until you fell asleep. He learned how to hold you gently and learned how to be silent when you needed peace. There were very early mornings when the city was still half asleep and Father had already prepared everything. You sat in front of him on the motorbike, your small hands holding tightly onto his shirt. On your first day of kindergarten, you hid behind Father's back. The school was crowded and noisy, so different from your small, familiar world. You held his hand tightly, your tiny fingers gripping hard. Father bent down to your eye level and said, "Go play with your friends. I'll pick you up later." You didn't cry, but your eyes were wet. As the teacher carried you into the classroom, you looked back. Father was still standing there, smiling and waving, like a promise that he wasn't going anywhere. At the end of the school day, the moment you saw Father from afar, you ran to him. He bent down and opened his arms. You rushed into that familiar embrace, telling him all kinds of stories without order. Father didn't interrupt. He listened, because to him, every story of yours mattered. There were quiet afternoons when you sat in Father's lap, playing with his shirt, then looking up with your small voice. "Dad, are you going somewhere?" Father smiled and gently patted your head. "I'm here." You hugged his neck tightly. "Don't go, okay?" He replied softly, "I'm not going anywhere. When you need me, I'll be here." In the evenings, Father was the one who bathed you. He tested the water with his hand, afraid it might be too hot. You sat there playing with soap bubbles, your laughter filling the bathroom. Father sang songs without clear lyrics, just to make you happy. "Dad, I'm a fish." "Yes, my little fish." Father wrapped a towel around you, carried you out, and slowly dried your hair. You rested your head on his shoulder, tired but completely at peace. Those moments were not loud. No one witnessed them, yet they quietly raised you with gentleness every single day. Night fell. The house grew quiet. Father had fallen asleep, his breathing slow and steady. You tiptoed closer to the bed, stood there for a moment, your eyes playful, as if a little idea had just appeared. You gently lifted the blanket and crawled in, burying yourself in that familiar warmth. You pulled Father's arm, wrapped it around you, adjusted yourself, and lay neatly in his embrace. You pressed your head against his chest, pulled the blanket a little higher, then stayed still, your face content, as if you had found the safest place in the world. Father kept sleeping, but his arms closed naturally, as if he had long been used to protecting you, even in his dreams. Mother taught you right and wrong. Father taught you that, even when you are wrong, you are still loved. You grew up. You ran faster, talked more, then slowly talked less. You began to have your own world, thoughts you didn't share with everyone. But whenever you were sad, you looked for Father first, not because you loved your mother any less, but because Father was the place where you were not afraid of being judged. Then you entered your teenage years. Your bedroom door closed more often. Father noticed the distance growing, But he didn't pull you back. He stood exactly where he should, behind you, close enough that when you turned around, he was there. Every night, the porch light stayed on. Father didn't ask where you were going. He only asked, "Are you home yet?" Father didn't say anything, just remember to wear an extra jacket. He simply left behind the things you might need. Dinner was still prepared every night. Bowls and chopsticks were still neatly arranged. There were still enough seats for everyone. But the conversations slowly faded. Long questions from the past turned into short answers. No one said it out loud, but everyone could feel it. The distance didn't come from absence, but from prolonged silence. Before, you told Father even the smallest things: a story from school, a new friend, a nameless sadness. Then you grew up. You chose to keep many things to yourself. Not because you didn't need Father anymore, but because you were learning to walk on your own in your own world. You were very close, but there were days when Father felt you were very far away. Father stood behind you just to be sure you didn't have to walk alone. Father began to understand you weren't just growing up, you were preparing to leave his world. The day you left home, Father didn't say much. He helped pack your things, slipped a few small items into your bag. When the vehicle moved away, Father stood still, watching until he could no longer see you. No one saw that moment, but that moment stayed in Father's heart for a very long time. The house suddenly felt bigger, quieter. Everything looked the same, but the sound of footsteps was different. Corners of the house, once filled with your presence, now held only silence. Not a clear sadness, just an emptiness without a name yet. Father held his phone for a long time, then put it down. Because sometimes love means letting you be free. Then one day, when you were grown enough to understand everything, you suddenly realized the man who once carried you in his arms, who once took you along narrow roads, now walked much more slowly. You stood behind him. You wrapped your arms around him the way you did when you were little. That embrace was no longer as strong as before, but it was warm in a way that surprised you. Warm like the nights you crawled into his arms to sleep, like the early days when you hid behind his back to feel safe. And in that moment, you finally understood. Father never said how much he loved you, but in every step you took, his quiet presence was always there behind you. Father didn't walk ahead for you to chase. He didn't stand too close to stop you from growing. He simply stood there, far enough for you to learn how to walk on your own, and close enough that when you turned around, he was still there. I love you so much, Dad.